So hey guys, how are you all? Welcome to So we are back with a brand new movie on what if Naruto was depression led him to My Hero Academia. But before we start, be sure to subscribe to our channel and like this video. Now let's begin the story. It has been 1 week since Team 7 had just come back from Wave Mission, and Naruto was barely adjusting to the hatred he was once again subjected to once he entered through the gates of Konoha. The blonde genin in his bright orange jumpsuit sighed as he took to the rooftops and arrived at the training ground that Team 7 frequented and found that he was early. He made to climb the large tree overlooking the bridge where he, Sasuke, and Sakura would wait for their late sensei. Naruto didn't have to wait long because Sakura arrived first along with Ino, but as he prepared to jump down to greet her, he picked up on pieces of their conversation and he felt his blood run cold. "He's worthless, Ino. That pathetic idiot doesn't even know when he is not wanted," Sakura spat as her green eyes squinted at the thought of her blonde teammate. Ino questioned, "He can't be that bad, can he? I know he is the class clown, but it can't be that bad, can it?" "Yes, Ino he is. He keeps distracting Sasuke-kun, and if he wasn't there in the first place, Sasuke wouldn't have to protect him. He nearly died. I hate him." "He almost killed Sasuke?" Ino asked in shock. "Yeah. And the dork has the nerve to think that I would ever date him. I'd rather date a perverted monkey than go on a date with him. He's pathetic and a waste of space." She stomped her foot into the dirt. "If you say so, Sakura. I need to go and meet my team," Ino said with a shake of her head and left the training ground. Sakura waved goodbye and watched her leave before looking left and then right before sneaking off the spa to freshen up for her precious Sasuke. If she stayed just a bit longer, she would have heard the gasp of someone covering up a choked sob. Naruto felt his throat hurt along with his heart as he couldn't believe that Sakura hated him that much and he just couldn't believe it. "She hates me that much. All I want is to be friends with her and I wouldn't have killed Sasuke team, I just wanted to help him. I didn't ask him to jump in front of Haku's attack." Naruto thought as he knew he would have to think more about this later. He pulled himself together for the team meeting, but then he saw Kakashi and Sasuke together walking towards the bridge. Naruto barely managed to pull up a smile, but then his mind came up with the thought, Kakashi is early. But why is he with Sasuke? He saw that they were talking and decided to listen to their conversation as he felt that he needed to hear it, no matter how much he felt he needed to turn away. He heard Sasuke say, "Teach me what the dope knows, Kakashi-sensei." Kakashi sighed, "I have already taught you the shadow clone jutsu, but you cannot use it like Naruto, it would kill you. The only thing that Naruto has going for him is his massive chakra coils." Sasuke said with a droll, "Then why did you pick him? He is just going to slow me down." "He is not going to slow you down. Just think of him like a measuring stick," Kakashi offered. "What?" Both Naruto and Sasuke thought in shock as they both looked at him. "What do you mean?" Sasuke said, his black eyes staring into Kakashi's own. "Yeah, you bastard, what do you mean by that?" Naruto thought as he thought this day couldn't get any worse. "Exactly that, he is only a measuring stick for your progress. That is the only reason I picked him in the first place, he was to be your rival without completely rivaling you to push you to make you reach your goal." Sasuke stared at him wide-eyed for 2 seconds before schooling his features and responding with his trademarked HN. "However, let's keep this a secret between us, no one has to know," Kakashi said, raising a finger. Sasuke nodded and Kakashi gave him an eye smile. "Good, now let me show you another chakra control technique," Kakashi said as he led Sasuke deeper into the forest. Naruto had tears running down his face as he covered his mouth as his mind swirled with all the insecurities and all the taunts that he pushed into the deep corners of his mind were now ringing in his ears. "Ignore him, he is bad news, kids. Stay away from my daughter, demon filth." You little shit. Why are you so pathetic, Naruto? Why can't you do anything right, it's simple. Ha, loser. Dead last. Clown. Why do you all of us a favor and disappear? Naruto grit his teeth as he silently jumped down from the tree, clenching his eyes shut, blinking away his tears before running away from training ground 7. He decided to skip out on the so-called team training today, he didn't care if Kakashi chewed him out for skipping. He needed to get away before he did something that would put the old man in a bad position. He quickly made his way to the ramen shop where Ayame was manning the front and she immediately saw Naruto who slowly walked over to her and she instantly picked up on his bad mood, his slouched shoulders, his tired and glassed over eyes and she immediately pulled him into a hug. They quickly hugged before people could see her hugging the demon boy as she led him to her room in the back where she allowed him to sleep on her bed. It was one of the few places he could stay in Konoha and drop his guard because no one knew that he slept in her bed. "Thank you, Ayame," Naruto whispered to her as she pulled the sheets over him. "Of course, Naruto," she whispered back as she kissed his temple as she watched him fall asleep. A couple hours later. Naruto awoke with a groan as he stretched out his limbs before his instincts kicked into overdrive as he immediately observed his surroundings before calming down when he realized that he was still in Ayame's room. He was found his orange jacket on the chair next to the desk in her room and he was just wearing his fishnet shirt and his orange pants. Naruto took it with him as he made his way from the back to go to the front, but then he heard Kiba, Ino, Shikamaru, and Sakura's voices in the front of the restaurant. Why are they here? None of them ever accepted when I invited them to come with me. Naruto questioned. Naruto snuck his way forward and made to sit still in the shadows as he listened to their conversation and much to his dismay, they were talking about him. Naruto knew he didn't have to listen and that if he left he wouldn't face any more emotional pain, but he felt something stir deep within his chest, telling him that he had to hear what they were going to say about him, no matter how much it hurt. Annoyance. Troublesome idiot. Bastard. Loser. Freak. Worthless. Nobody. Useless. I just wish he just did everyone a favor and get lost. Sakura yelled as she smashed her fist into one of the pictures of Naruto and Ayame. The glass surrounding the frame shattered just like Naruto's love for Sakura. He watched as the picture frame fell to the ground and saw the picture was when Naruto first met Ayame and her father. He helped her when a drunk tried to have his way with her, but he smashed his head in with a trash can. Before she could thank him, he immediately fell unconscious and she panicked trying to wake him until his stomach growled as she giggled before taking him back to the shop and placing him in her room. After wrapping him up in bandages and calming him down, Tucci gave him his first bowl of ramen, making him smile as he ate it with vigor. Tucci wanted to make a picture of that memory and had Ayame hold Naruto in her lap as he hugged her, much both their embarrassments, but she decided to kiss his cheek for the picture, making the boy blush like a cherry for most of that afternoon. Ayame was trembling in rage before she stopped as her eyes caught the sight of Naruto in the shadows of the shop. He wasn't wearing his large I'll get through it smile anymore. His eyes were darker and misty as his lips were pulled into a thin frown, as if he was barely restraining himself from breaking down on the spot. He slowly shook his head at her silently telling her to not give him away as he immediately left, almost as if he wasn't there in the first place. Ayame, on the other hand, has had enough, she would not let them insult the boy she considered a little brother, especially in front of her. She slammed her knife that she was chopping vegetables with on the cutting board, cutting through the group's mockery and beratement of Naruto as she slowly turned towards them and slammed her hands on the counter, making the nearly finished or half-finished bowls of ramen jump from the force. Enough. I've had enough. Keep your money, I don't want it, but I ask of you to please leave my restaurant. I will not have you insult one of the sweetest boys in this village, if you want to insult him go elsewhere, but you are not doing it here. Now please leave. She snapped at the shocked genin who looked at the livid face of Ayame. All of them immediately left, Shikamaru, Sakura, Hinata, and Ino looked back to see Ayame sadly pick up a broken picture frame that Sakura smashed. Some immediately felt bad, but all of them brushed off the feeling of guilt, thinking that Naruto wouldn't hear what they said anyway, and even if he did, he couldn't do anything about it right. Shikamaru, on the other hand, couldn't feel deep from within his gut that they all committed a grave error and it was going to bite them all in the ass later. He sighed and thought, fuck it, I'll think about it tomorrow. Naruto was on the rooftop, hiding in the shadows as he rested his head in his arms, as he hugged his knees up to his chest, as he basked in his own solitude, as he felt despair slowly swallow his heart, as he tried to calm himself down, only managing to push back his raging emotions a bit as he needed someone to talk to. He ran to the tower, unaware that Hiruzen was watching him from his crystal ball, as he had his hat cover his eyes, as felt shame over his failure of taking care Naruto, that wanted to swallow him whole, but he stamped it down as he waited for Naruto to arrive. After a couple minutes, the boy of the hour didn't slam open the door and yell, he knocked first, signaling that he was done, wearing his mask, and Hiruzen released a long sigh and said, come in, Naruto-kun. Naruto slowly opened the door and he silently closed it behind him and the Anbu stationed in the room would have attacked the impostor if Hiruzen didn't look so sad at seeing the state of the boy. All of them were shocked, thinking, is this the real Naruto Uzumaki? Just a depressed young boy. Hiruzen slowly told all the Anbu in the room, all Anbu leave the room, I do not wish to be disturbed and you are not to breathe a word of this to anyone. If you do, I will personally kill you on the spot, understand? Their shaky nods were their silent replies before they vanished and before Hiruzen could walk towards him, Naruto raised a hand for him to stop as he took out two kunai and threw one above his head and one behind Hiruzen, both of them making a wet meaty thump where they hit their target. Pathetic war horse Naruto said, plainly as the Abnu fell away from their hiding spots, wearing the Abnu masks with the kanji for rude on the forehead. Naruto? Hiruzen questioned. A sniff have been trailing me for a while, and if you are worried about how I was able to kill them, then don't. I made my first kill a couple years ago. When? He asked as he kneeled down to Naruto's level. When I was 9, it was after a beating, and it was a retired ninja who wanted to make the demon into a boy toy for him and his friends. Hiruzen had his killing intent slowly leak out before he reined in his temper as he sighed, looking much older than his years as he stared at Naruto and how he failed at protecting him. You killed him, but why didn't you tell anyone? Hiruzen concluded. Only Tucci and Ayame who helped me through it. I didn't want to tell you just yet. I was afraid the council would give you more trouble if they knew. After all, who gives two flying fucks if the demon boy of Konoha is made into someone's bitch, he said in a miserable tone. Hiruzen kneeled down as he gently lifted Naruto's head, taking in his glazed over eyes, his trembling lips, and his nearly bleeding fists, before he removed his hand from Naruto's chin, allowing his head to fall once again. Naruto, please look at me, Hiruzen said tiredly, feeling 20 years older than he actually was. Naruto slowly looked up and saw Hiruzen with his arms out, and Naruto trembled a bit more before he allowed himself this one moment of weakness and rushed into his arms, allowing Hiruzen to wrap his arms around him as Naruto started to ball into his robes as Hiruzen rubbed circles into Naruto's back. Hiruzen looked at the sobbing figure of his grandson in everything but blood as he looked at the sad faces of all the past Hokages, especially the fourth Hokage, as the sky thundered as dark clouds rolled in. Naruto's sobs trickled down into soft hiccups and he cleaned his face with the sleeves of jumpsuit as he said, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to break down like that. I ruined your robes. Don't worry about it, Naruto, considering Hiruzen trailed off. You saw that, huh? Naruto said, moving back a few steps out of Hiruzen's arms as he pulled himself together. Only the last part, Hiruzen said as he stood up and leaned against his desk. Do you want me to tell you? Naruto asked. If you could, Naruto. I need to hear everything, Hiruzen said. Naruto gave a sigh of a weary veteran ninja as he explained everything he heard from Sakura, Kakashi, and then finally down to the rookie E9 said with brutal clarity. Damn you, Kakashi. Naruto has more talent than you can even imagine, and you squander it to waste on the Uchiha. I should have never placed Naruto on your team. Hopefully, I am able to do right by him, but you better have a good explanation or you are going to pray your ass off every day in hopes you don't die soon. I for sure know that Kushina will be wanting your head on a pike, Hiruzen growled before he calmed himself down to look at Naruto. Hiruzen looked at him and said, what do you want to do, Naruto? Naruto snorted and said, if you think words from people I thought who were my friends or those who I thought actually liked me would be enough to make me quit, then you are underestimating me, old man. If I had that weak of a will, I would have killed myself years ago. So, what is it? Hiruzen asked, a bit in shock at the dark blue eyes staring back at him. Those same dark blue eyes instantly reminded him of his father when he found out his team was ambushed by Iwa Ninja. The slaughter he made of them was something on the level of his massacre of Iwa Ninja that caused them to pull out from the war. Naruto gave a sigh and said, that I will figure out when I ask of you for a 3-day vacation away from the village. I am not sure if I could face any of them without wanting to rip off their heads. No more mask? Hiruzen asked as he felt a smile slowly fall on his face. Naruto's lips twitched up, no more, old man. It is too broken and I can't swallow their shit anymore, and if I see Kakashi right now I would be tempted just to set off violent prank after violent prank on him. Aren't you going to prank him anyway? The third asked as he raised an eyebrow. Oh yes, I am, and the rest of them. However, if I do it as I am, then my pranks will become death traps. I have no respect for Kakashi. I thought he would be different, but he is just like the rest of them. The person I thought who would become my friend doesn't care if he uses me as a stepping stone. I could care less if Haruno threw herself off the monument. Naruto finished with a bit of heat before taking a breath and calming himself down. Sorry, I just need to sort out my emotions before I do something that will land us in deep shit. Naruto finished rubbing his temples to push back the pain in his temples. Very well, I will have a note written for your excused absence, and Kakashi and the rest of them will be forbidden to look for you. Let's just say you are on an assignment for me, and we will move you from there. Do I have to continue to be on the Sasuke cocksucker team? Naruto quipped. Hiruzen snorted as he smiled at Naruto, who gave a small smile back, glad to see you still have some of your wit with you. And allow them to win. No, never, Naruto stated tiredly. You know where I will be, old man, if you need me, and thank you, Naruto said before leaving the office. Hiruzen immediately wrote the note and called his Anbus back into the room. Two of them took the dead root ninja to the T&I unit while Hiruzen called Hawk over to him. Hawk, deliver this note to Kakashi. He is to follow it to the letter, and if he disobeys my orders or tries to find a way around it, I will have Anko use him an unmoving kunai target and have the anti-Icha collocation slowly burn all of his Icha books in his collection. The Hawk Anbu saluted, taking the note, and responded, yes, Hokage-sama. Hiruzen turned his chair towards the window and whispered, be safe, Naruto. Naruto made his way back to his apartment, ignoring the new curses written on broken door as he made his way through his trashed apartment. Idiots, but be wary, I am no longer going to take your shit anymore, so enjoy your petty victory of trashing a teenager's apartment for now, because it is the last one you will have at my expense, he thought as he made his way towards his closet and pulled out several clothes and made his way out through the window. Naruto smiled as he jumped from rooftop to rooftop until he came to be in front of a large forest and walked inside, enjoying the views and noises of the forest around him. He spent the day relaxing, away from all the glares, and muttered curses from the populace of Konoha as he stripped himself of his orange jumpsuit and made his way to the lake to rest in the water before coming out. He heard a rustling in the bushes as he went to go grab his jumpsuit. He readied himself with a kunai, prepared to stab at any animal who thought he might be their next meal, until he saw it was a tiger cub. Naruto smiled and knelt down, showing his palm to call the cub towards him as he put the kunai down as the cub slowly walked towards him, sniffing his palm before nuzzling his hand with a purr. He laid down on the bank next to the river as the cub settled on his chest as Naruto looked up at the sky and smiled as he let the noise of the forest lull him to sleep. Several hours later, Naruto slowly woke up to find his chest was heavier than before and saw two more cubs were joining the first one that was sleeping on his chest and that he was leaning against something warm and fuzzy. He slightly turned and saw that he was leaning against a large female tiger who was sleeping as well. They must have kept me warm when I was sleeping, he whispered as the mother's ears twitched at the noise. Fuck it, I'm going back to sleep, it's too comfortable, he inwardly concluded as he made his way back to his dream world. Soon, morning broke out and Naruto woke up with a yawn, causing the tiger family to wake up with him. The mother tiger stood up, shaking her fur as she let out a yawn as the three cubs yawned and rolled off Naruto's chest. He gave them all a good scratch behind the ears and knelt down to see the mother and thank her for keeping him warm yesterday. She responded with a good lick that made half his face wet, which he laughed off. He waved at them before going on his way to explore the forest. He was wearing his orange jacket over his shoulders, leaving his chest and stomach exposed with his fishnet as he kept his orange pants on. However, the quiet day was interrupted when a gruff voice addressed him, what do we have here? A retarded orange in my forest. Naruto growled as he looked up to see a boy the same age as him jump down from the tree and land right in front of him. He saw squinted red eyes glaring at him, pale spiky blonde hair which was in a messier style than his own, with an olive skin tone, minus the various cuts and burns that could be seen on his arms. He wore a blazing red shirt with black flames on the bottom, with baggy pants tied down to his ninja sandals. "Hello, retard, I am talking to ya," he yelled. Naruto frowned as he said, "My name is not retard. It's Naruto, and who the hell are you?" "The name is Katsuki Bakugo and you are in my forest," he announced. "The forest doesn't have your name on it," Naruto stated, plainly. Katsuki's eyebrow twitched in irritation as he said, "Shut it, shithead." "Who are you calling shithead, porcupine head?" Naruto questioned with his own twitching eyebrow. "Porcupine head? Who the fuck are you calling porcupine head, you ass?" he snarled, getting in Naruto's face. "Who the fuck are you calling an ass, bitch boy?" Naruto snarled, slamming his forehead against Katsuki's as they glared at each other. "That's it, you are so dead, dumb fuck," he snarled, his hands clenched as they turned a blazing orange. Naruto cracked his knuckles as he stated, "Bring it on, you poser." The two stared each other down, unaware that they were being watched by a man covered in black, his dark eyes flashing red for a few seconds before turning back to its usual lazy black. Katsuki still reckless as always. "So, this is the Kyuubi container. I wonder how this will pan out," Aizawa thought as he leaned against the tree trunk and watched the battle between the two blondes commence. "That's it, you are so dead, dumb fuck," he snarled, his hands clenched as they turned a blazing orange. Naruto cracked his knuckles as he stated, "Bring it on, you poser." The two stared at each other down, unaware that they were being watched by a man covered in black, his dark eyes flashing red for a few seconds before turning back to its usual lazy black. Katsuki still reckless as always. "So, this is the Kyuubi container. I wonder how this will pan out," Aizawa thought as he leaned against the tree trunk and watched the battle between the two blondes commence. Present. The two stood before each other, the area was silent before a single leaf fell from the tree and when it touched the ground, the two made their move and charged at each other. Katsuki created small explosions in his hands to give him a boost in the air to get behind Naruto and roast him from behind, but Naruto literally had a sixth sense when it came to attacks from behind. He avoided the blast and jumped away, getting some distance while Katsuki growled and said, "You ain't getting away from me that easily." He then quickly made his way towards Naruto, who got into a defensive stance and thought, so he uses the explosions he creates to both propel and attack. Katsuki struck with his right hand to grab a hold of Naruto's head, but Naruto wrapped his right arm around Katsuki's, pulling him closer to deliver a harsh knee to the stomach. After that, Naruto front snap kicked his lower jaw, forcing his head back as he delivered punch after punch to Katsuki's torso before he kicked Naruto away, freeing his arm. He then rubbed his jaw as Naruto skidded to a stop, pressing his hand into his upper stomach as he glared at Katsuki. He then spat on the grass as blood dripped down his chin from the kick Naruto gave him as he looked up and glared at the sunshine blonde who tossed his jacket away as it landed in a heap with a strange clank. Damn it, I don't have time for this. All I wanted was to relax, Naruto growled as he was wasting daylight. Oh, you can relax when you are recovering in the hospital, Katsuki spat as he charged at Naruto again. Say that when you can actually get me on my back, shithead, Naruto growled as he met Katsuki's charge with his own as the two started to punch and kick each other. Naruto's attacks had more weight behind them, while Katsuki's attacks were slightly lighter, but gave him burns. The attacks continued for over 10 minutes, neither of the two given the other any ground, except for the last attack, where they both kicked each other in the face, forcing them back a few feet. The pair of them were panting as they glared at each other. Naruto had burns on his left cheek, under his right eye, on his stomach, and across his arms. Katsuki had bruises on both sides of his face, across his arms, and on his lower jaw. They both went for one last attack with a straight right. Katsuki had his hand enveloped in his explosion, while Naruto subconsciously had his hand covered in both wind and lightning chakra. Katsuki went for Naruto's face, while Naruto aimed at Katsuki's stomach. Both attacks landed on their opponent, but with different results. Naruto managed to block Katsuki's fist from hitting his face with his left arm, but suffered heavy burns, while Naruto's right fist was buried into his stomach. Katsuki was frozen in pain as he hacked up a glob of blood before managing to sneak a right hook into Naruto's face, sending him sprawling to the ground on his ass as Katsuki fell forward face first. Naruto clutched his cheek and spat out a bit of blood as he sighed before lying down on the grass before the shock settled in as he sat up looking at Katsuki's unconscious body and said, "I won." Before Naruto could do anything else, Aizawa comes down and looks at the unconscious Katsuki and then back at Naruto. Naruto bowed his head preparing for either a tongue lashing or a beating, but after 3 minutes he looked up to see Aizawa still looking at him, unblinkingly. "You aren't attacking me?" Naruto questioned, his arms twitching at his sides to raise them up to defend himself at a moment's notice. "Why would I?" he asked, but already knowing the answer. "Because I just beat your student or whoever he was into unconsciousness." He shrugged his shoulders, he is a bit too hot-headed for his own good. "So, what now?" Naruto asked. Aizawa looked up at the sky for a moment before looking back at Naruto. "Follow me." "Okay," Naruto answered as he made his way back towards Katsuki, placing him on his back, grabbing his jacket, and followed after the man dressed in black. Aizawa slightly widened his eyes. I didn't even need to ask him to carry Katsuki. He really is interesting. The pair walked in silence out of the forest, went downtown via rooftop, considering that several people wouldn't take too kindly to Naruto carrying an unconscious fellow ninja. Finally, the pair arrived at a training ground that Naruto didn't know existed where he saw people his own age who stopped their conversation to look at them and started to discuss why Katsuki was on his back, making him nervous. However, nothing could prepare him for when Aizawa said, "Everyone, this is Naruto Uzumaki. He is your new classmate, treat him well." Naruto nearly dropped Katsuki from shock as he looked at the tired-looking man as the group got up and started to converse as he felt his cheeks redden in embarrassment. Training ground number 7. Kakashi, Sasuke, and Sakura were all waiting for Naruto, and it has been 10 minutes, and all of them were very annoyed at the absent blonde. Sasuke was sitting on the bridge with his hands folded as he thought, the dope is a no-show again. Sakura was switching between growling that Naruto was wasting their time while sighing, knowing she had Sasuke all to herself to cheer on. That idiot is going to get it when I meet him again for making all of us wait. But, the good side is that I don't need to deal with him asking me out on a date. Kakashi was really annoyed as he thought, first, he doesn't show up yesterday, and now he is late today. He is going to get it when I find him later. Soon a hawk mask Ayame arrived with a letter and handed it to Kakashi who read it, his lone eye widened in shock as he said, "Is this real?" "Yes, it is real, Hokage-san. The Hokage wants to meet you immediately, and if you are late then it is ordered that you are to be used as Anko's unmoving kunai target for the next 3 months, and every time you are late and then have all your books slowly burned by the anti-Icha-Icha coalition before being forbidden to buy any replacements for the next 6 months. Kakashi turned Orochimaru level pale at hearing the end of that threat and said, "I will be right there." The hawk Avenue vanished with the wind and he turned towards his 2 students and said, "I will be back. Sasuke, do your usual warm-up set and Sakura run around the training ground twice. I will be back soon." He then vanished while wondering what would make the Hokage give him such a heavy threat. Hokage's office. Kakashi then made his way to the door of the Hokage's office and knocked twice to where a clear, "Come in, Jounin Heikate." He frowned but entered regardless. He knew that he was in trouble. Hiruzen always went by first names, he only used the dreaded rank and last name when he was in a foul mood with someone. Hiruzen looked at Kakashi, his dark eyes boring into Kakashi's lone one as the tension in the air was thick and heavy before Kakashi broke it by asking, "Lord Hokage, why did you send Naruto away from my team?" He thought, "Because you heavily shamed both your dead teammates, your father, Minato, and myself. That's why and Kushina would love tear through Kami herself just come down here for an hour to tear off your ass and force you to eat it. Does that explain things, Kakashi?" Hiruzen sighed and said, "I sent Naruto away because I require his services on a project of mine and he has certain talents that will be able to complete that project to the best of his abilities." Kakashi looked confused and replied, "I am sorry sir, but I think you might have chosen the wrong person for the job. Naruto doesn't have any talent." "Oh, really?" Hiruzen stated, unmoving. "Yes sir. You see, Naruto missed team practice yesterday and he was late for today's practice and he will probably not show up today, so I was going to visit you later and ask that you send him back to academy after the Chunin exams." Hiruzen stared at Kakashi in silence for a long period of time that made Kakashi feel as if he was in a room with a large animal that would love nothing more than to tear him apart. "Well, my choice is cemented. Naruto will no longer be on Team 7, thank Kami for Naruto having a nearly unbreakable willpower or we would all be fucked. Note to self, show Naruto the Uzumaki shrine and give him Kushina's journal." "Kakashi, you say Naruto doesn't have any talent, correct?" he stated, slowly. "Yes, he doesn't have any talent," Kakashi said with confidence, knowing that Naruto was a lost cause and it would just be a waste of time. "Then, answer me Jounin Heikate. What have you been doing for the past 4 months?" Hiruzen stated, coldly. What?" Kakashi asked as he didn't think that Hiruzen would question his reasoning. "Don't make me repeat myself, Heikate. What have you training your team in for the past 4 months?" "I have taught Sasuke several chakra control exercises, tree walking, several fire jutsus," and Kakashi trailed off when he felt Hiruzen's killing intent start to rise. The killing intent was flowing out of the older man like water as he closed his eyes and reined in his temper before he crushed Kakashi's skull and grit out, "I said, what are you doing for your team? Not Sasuke-cha. Answer me truthfully, Jounin Heikate." "I have taught the entire team, teamwork exercises and tree walking," Kakashi stated. "And Genin Haruno. A couple of genjutsu techniques and several kunai tricks," he answered quickly. "And you taught Naruto nothing but teamwork exercises that won't do shit against an enemy ninja," Hiruzen stated slowly with his head bowed. Kakashi didn't reply, but nearly swallowed his tongue when Hiruzen looked up at him. The fire in his eyes would have roasted him if Hiruzen tried a bit harder as he clenched his fist around his pen before taking a deep breath and said, "Kakashi Heikate. You can't imagine how much I want to tear out Obito's eye right out of your head and remove you from active duty right now. However, the civilian council and my teammates would nag me until the end of time if I did that, so I won't. But don't think you are getting off so easily. You will no longer have Naruto Uzumaki as your student if the poor boy could even call you a teacher in the first place." Kakashi flinched, knowing he was now in deep shit. "Lord Hokage, Don't you dare interrupt me, Jounin Heikate. Naruto will be trained under a new teacher, whether of his choosing or my own, in order to become a great ninja that I know he will become, but you will not look for him. I absolutely forbid it. He is on an assignment for me and I will not have him bothered by your talented students that could put him in danger. He is out of town as of this moment and he will report to either me or his new teacher." "Lord Hokage, what am I going to tell his teammates?" "Tell them that he is on an assignment and that he is off your team and that they are not to look for them. If you or they disobey my orders, you all will be doing D ranks for the entirety of the time until the Chunin exams. If you disobey my orders a second time, your team will be forbidden to enter the Chunin exams, and before you ask, yes, Naruto will enter the Chunin exams, but not with your team. Also, I wouldn't expect Naruto to be very happy to meet you or your teammates if you happen to come across him." "What do you mean by that?" Kakashi asked. "Just a warning, now please leave my office," Hiruzen said, turning back to his paperwork. Kakashi turned to leave, but glanced at Minato's picture on the wall and was confused that the picture was frowning at him, like when he copied a comrade's jutsu when he made Jounin. He sighed before leaving through the door, and when the door finally closed, Hiruzen sighed, measuring stick, "My left ass cheek." Training ground number 7. Kakashi went back to the training ground to see Sasuke throwing punches and kicks with Sakura cheering him on. They saw him come up and Sasuke asked, "Is the dope coming?" "No, apparently he is on an assignment for the Hokage out of town and nobody is to disturb him." "What? How come that Baka gets a mission instead of Sasuke-kun?" Sakura yelled. "That, you need to ask clarification from the Hokage. He told me that Naruto is not to be disturbed and if he was, then we will be forced to do D ranks until the exams, and if continue to disturb him, then we would be banned from the Chunin exams altogether." "What?" Sasuke and Sakura yelled. "That idiot. I am going to pound his head into the ground." she said, cracking his knuckles in anger. She was hellbent on ripping Naruto a new hole to shit through after giving him a piece of her mind. "Sakura, are you trying to deny my chance of getting stronger?" Sasuke snarled, his dark eyes boring into Sakura's now fearful green ones. She paled as she said, "No, never." "Then leave the dope alone, we will get answers from him when he comes back from whatever hole he crawled into," Sasuke said as he leaned against one of the wooden pillars as he thought about where to search for the dope first after training and get answers. "Yes," she chirped as she looked at Sasuke with hearts in her eyes. "We will deal with Naruto when he comes back now, Sasuke, follow with me, I need to teach you a new technique," Kakashi said with a shake of his head. Downtown training ground. Naruto leaned Kitsuki against a tree and covered him with his jacket before making his way back to his supposed new teacher. Sir. What do you mean that I am their new classmate?" Naruto asked for clarification. Aizawa glanced at him and said, "I already had several of your classmates gather your stuff to be taken to your new room at the complex." Before Naruto could ask, a student laughed, making Naruto look at another blonde with a black streak in his hair as he said, "So, it's true, your apartment is sick, man. My favorite trap was the massive flower and rope trap that nailed Mineta-chan." Said Mineta. Female Mineta Minoru growled him, crossing her arms over her chest and said, "I didn't know that the door was trapped." Naruto rubbed the back of his head and said, "Thanks, I guess so. Where am I staying?" "You will be staying with all of them at the complex, Shadow will show you around," he stated before pointing a thumb at the boy who made his way to the front. The boy was taller by Naruto by several inches as he stood tall and straight, his skin was olive-toned, with his hair split down the middle, the right half was white, the left half was brick red, his right eye was gray, and his left eye was blue. However, the most noticeable feature would be the burn scar covering his blue eye. "We will bring you back here, and we will begin your training tomorrow morning, and I expect you to get started on this." Aizawa then chuckled a scroll at Naruto, who caught it and said, "Yes sir." "Good, now get moving. You are burning daylight," he stated. Shadow nudged him and said, "Follow me." Naruto nodded and followed after him as Aizawa said, "Alright, all of you get moving, I want you to run laps around Konoha and up your weights to the next level." "Yes sir." They all yelled before making their way to run around Konoha. To Naruto and Shadow. The two boys were walking on the rooftops in silence until Shadow said, "We are going to the shop to change your clothes." Naruto nodded his head and said, "Okay." He raised an eyebrow in question, and Naruto asked, "Do you think I wear bright orange because I wanted to?" Shadow shrugged as an answer, and Naruto accepted the silent answer and said, "It is more as a necessity than fashion. I'd rather wear this ugly thing and be able to eat than to wear good clothes and starve. Besides, it makes stealth training more interesting." He raised an eyebrow and asked, "How can you be stealthy in bright orange?" Naruto gave him a large grin as he chuckled, "Have you heard of the person who painted the Hokage monument and led 3 Avenue teams on a chase throughout the village?" "Yeah, my friends were discussing for weeks, and they wondered who that was. The chase lasted for 14 hours, I think," he said, looking at Naruto, who gave him a grin as it clicked in his mind. "That person was you, wasn't it?" he concluded. "Yeah, but it was 16 hours with only 4 of those hours spent in hiding, and I took out half an Avenue team with pranks I placed all over the village," Naruto shrugged, smiling at that memory. Shadow looked at him for a while until the two arrived at the store that supplied Aizawa's class and asked, "How the hell are you the dead last again?" "Most of my teachers didn't teach me for shit," Naruto shrugged before Shadow opened the door and entered the shop as Naruto sighed and slowly walked into the store himself. However, he was immediately confronted with a Kyuubi hater who manned the front and said, "You don't belong here, brat. Get out this instant or I'll—" "Or you'll what?" Shadow said with a glare. "Oh, Han, don't you know? He's no good, he will only drag you down. You are free to browse here, but he needs to leave immediately," she stated, pointing a finger at Naruto. Naruto rolled his eyes and said, "I'll be fine, go on." "No, we aren't moving until we get what we wanted," he stated, standing his ground. "Don't tell me you actually expect him to shop here," she said, repulsed. "So, what if I am?" Shadow quipped, raising an eyebrow as Naruto shrugged off the repulsed look she threw him with ease. She frowned and said, "Then I will." "You will what, exactly?" A deep voice called out, gathering all of their attention to see a large tan man wearing a simple button-up shirt and slacks. "Oh sir, I was just telling the brat to get out, you wouldn't want him to ruin your place of work, would you?" she said, sweetly. "The only people who ruin my place of work are people like you who can't tell a damn kunai from a scroll. You're fired. Get out of my store, immediately," he stated, shocking both Naruto and the female worker. The worker trembled and said, "Sir, please. I need this job, No sir. I'll go. Just let her keep her job." "Shadow, I'll meet you outside," Naruto said as he turned around to leave. Shadow grabbed him by the wrist to keep him still, while the man shook his head and told the woman once more to get out as she ran out of the store crying, and Naruto sighed, knowing this was going to lead to another mob. Pick anything from the store. Consider it a favor from an old man. Naruto looked at him, confused until Shadow pulled him to find clothes as the man looked at the young blonde. I can at least do this for your son, Minato, he said, as he closed his eyes for a silent prayer for Minato to find peace in the afterlife. Pick out 5 pairs of clothes and then I will lead you on the tour, he said, as he closed his eyes. Yeah, and thanks for standing up for me, Naruto said with a small smile, while Shadow gave a small smile back. No problem, he thought. After 10 minutes, Naruto picked out 2 dark blue sleeveless shirts, a blood red v-neck, and 2 black elbow-length sleeved shirts with 3 pairs of black abnu pants and 2 black shorts with multiple pockets. You got everything you wanted? He asked, seeing Naruto carry all the clothes under one arm. Yeah, come on. The pair then arrived at the checkout as Naruto pulled out his wallet and asked, how much do I owe? The man put all the clothes in 2 bags and said, 300 ryo. Naruto gave him the money and grabbed the bags and said, thank you. Come back anytime, he said with a smile as waved at Naruto. Naruto gave him a nervous smile and looked forward while Shadow glanced at him and said, the next stop we are heading to the complex. Okay, Naruto said as they both jumped to the rooftops as they made their way to the complex. The complex was a large building hidden in the forest, the large trees covering the building, and from what Naruto could see there were no visible doors as Shadow jumped into the trees and motioned for Naruto to follow after him. Soon, the pair was inside and where Shadow showed him the kitchen, the game room, the living room, the porches, the training area, the pool, the lake, the hot springs, and then the bedrooms. The girls were on the left and the guys were on the right and all the rooms have names and had a certain touch on each of them. The room with the sign was Naruto and Shadow said, it is normal for everyone to design their own room, although it didn't stop some of the girls from buying you a few things. So be prepared to thank them. Yeah, I'll do that, Naruto said. Lunch will start at 2, stay here or explore if you want. Everyone will be back at 1 and then Aizawa will want to talk to you in private. Okay. Yell if you need anything, Shadow finished before closing the door behind him. Naruto was alone in the large room that was his and he was rather confused on what to do at this point, considering the size was practically his entire apartment room. Let's see no more horrible orange jumpsuit, actual clothes and a place to rest my head without having to sleep with both eyes open sounds awesome, he told himself as he tossed away his orange pants and made to burn them as soon as he got the chance, along with the rest of his jumpsuits. But Naruto didn't know that all the girls got his orange jumpsuits and were planning on burning them in the bonfire later that evening. He then checked out what things the girls had got for them and saw the closet had several items of clothing in it already and was pinned on one of the jackets was a note which he removed and said, welcome Naruto and hope you like it. Naruto looked up to the sky as if asking, what should I do? As he clenched his fists before taking a deep breath and said, fuck it. They aren't them. They aren't like them, I hope they aren't like the villagers and I hope they don't fuck it up. I really hope not. Hiruzen was watching Naruto through his crystal ball and said, I will correct my mistake, Naruto, and I will make sure you will reach your full potential. It's about damn time I stopped playing the senile old grandfather card. That cost you, your childhood, but I would be damned if I let them take anything more from you. And I know Aizawa will protect you just like how he protects everyone else. After 3 hours of hard training and Sakura cheering her beloved Sasuke for getting more stronger than before, Kakashi called it quits. Okay. Sasuke, keep training and tomorrow, I will see how far you have progressed with the jutsu I taught you today. Sakura, keep doing what you are doing. He then gave them both an eye smile and flashed away, but the eye smile was half-assed as his thoughts were on Naruto and wondered what mission the Hokage put him on, before thinking, the Hokage must have just pushed him into a room to get him out of the way. I'll get answers from him whenever I see him again, he finished as he pushed Naruto to the back of his mind as he started to read his porn. On training ground number 7. Sasuke immediately left the area and Sakura trailed after him and bashfully asked, Sasuke-kun, would you like to go on a date with me? No, he bluntly stated with the unspoken words of, now leave me alone. Sakura dropped her head in depression as Sasuke got out of earshot and she immediately screamed, no Naruto baka. I will not go on oh. She immediately looked around the empty training ground and realized that Naruto was not here and what she did was purely on instinct. Stupid idiot, she thought as she made her way back home. She would try again tomorrow, she would have her precious Sasuke-kun and then Naruto baka would just be their mat for them to step on for greatness. But Sasuke. He made his way off the training ground without Sakura following him and made his way to find the Dobe's house before realized that he didn't even know where his house was. After asking one of the civilians after getting past their awe, raising his ego a bit of him talking to them. They pointed out his old apartment, making him leave without a goodbye. Finally, he stood in front of the old building, run down and shabby, a perfect fit for a dead last like Naruto, and made to enter the apartment and called out, "Dope. I don't know how you convinced the Hokage to say you got a mission to miss out on practice, but you should know that it only makes you more pathetic than before." His words echoed throughout the empty apartment building, and he heard no footsteps nor shifting of anything, meaning the apartment was empty. HN. Sasuke took several steps forward before he fell into a wire trap meant to strip him of his clothes, but he managed to cut the wire before it could take off his shirt and saw the trap was made to strip off everything he was wearing and force him into a diaper and toss him outside. The last Uchiha hit a shudder and made to keep moving, looking for traps, but no matter where he looked, traps littered every corner of the apartment he was in. As he made his way deeper into his apartment, he found his respect for Naruto rise just a little bit, along with my concern for his sanity on how he could make so many traps. Some traps were designed for the complete embarrassment of the person, like the diaper trap or the trap that would have had him in a permanent wedgie that would have been hellish to get out of. Another trap was a combination of itching powder and bubble wrap, but Sasuke refused to ponder on how it could be an effective trap. Another set of traps was solely for painful mutilation, or to only cause pain that would last months, even if the person managed to get to the hospital. It went from simple kunai traps to various enban traps, aimed at the body's most sensitive points, before heading towards the random pitfalls towards rusted various dangerous items. After barely escaping the pit of rusted bear traps, Sasuke finally made it to Naruto's room with his name carved into the bedroom door. He said, "Nice try, Dobe, but you cannot escape an Uchiha." When he tried the doorknob, he found that it was locked, and when he tried to pull his hand back, he took the doorknob with him and it was connected to a string. When he tried to remove the doorknob from his hand, he triggered another trap, which was a boxing glove, hitting him right in the crotch, making Sasuke sing a high. He fell down, clutching his crotch before he felt his ankles get caught in a wire trap, and he was dragged out of the apartment through a window, smashing the glass, and he was smacked into a wall with the phrase, "Ignorant fucks" was spray painted on it and was dropped into a dumpster as the cover closed behind him. Sasuke dragged himself out of the dumpster, his shirt was covered with spoiled milk, and he had 2 ramen cups on his head as he looked at the apartment building in shock. How many traps did he set in there? Fuck it, I will find him tomorrow, and I'll give him hell. He took a sniff of his shirt and shuddered, and my fucking cleaning bill. But Sakura. When she left the training ground, she made her way to the beauty parlor before coming across Ino who had just finished her team training. "Forehead. What are you doing here?" she asked, raising an eyebrow. "I'm walking Ino pig, what does it look like?" "HMPH anyways, I still have the best team, well you're stuck with stupid Naruto. But that's the good thing, here, piggy. The Baka is no longer with Sasuke-kun and I, and we have Kakashi all to ourselves." "What?" Ino snapped. Sakura grinned, gloating, apparently the idiot got a mission and he was sent away from our team. "What do you mean the Dobe has a mission, forehead?" Ino quipped. "Exactly what I said, Ino pig. Kakashi-sensei said that the Hokage sent that idiot on a mission. And you don't know what it is?" "No. Kakashi-sensei wouldn't tell us, but told us to leave him alone or he would ban us from the Chunin exam." "Well now I really want to find out," she grinned as she rubbed her hands together as she planned to find the blonde. "Well. Don't tell me you are scared." "Of course not. Besides, that Baka will tell me anything, just get on my good side, who knows, maybe I get a mission for Sasuke-kun." "Is that so? Well, I'll find him tomorrow and he will tell me. It's not like he can say no, and if you will excuse me, forehead," Ino stated as she made to leave. She shrugged her shoulders and made her way to the beauty parlor, not sparing Naruto any more thought. But Naruto changed into a pair of black shorts and a blood-red V-neck t-shirt and stretched out his limbs before he heard everyone was coming back to the house and saw them through his window. Some of them saw him and he shyly waved at them as they waved back with big smiles. He caught the attention of Aizawa who nodded at him and Naruto nodded back as the tired-looking man made his way inside. When it was 2 o'clock, he made his way downstairs and he was pulled into the middle as everyone conversed and talked and Naruto found himself really comfortable. After eating, everyone settled into the living room as Naruto sat on the couch between Tsuyu and Ichako. Aizawa was sitting in a puffy chair as he laid his head on his hands and said, "Now that everyone is seated, introduce yourselves to your new classmate. So you are the new student, my name is Yuga Aoyama, I hope we have a sparkling relationship." Mina sighed as she nudged Yuga, making him fall on his face, causing a few laughs as she outstretched her hand and said, "Mina Shido, it's awesome to meet a new person." Naruto shook her outstretched hand and heard, "Jiro," from beside him, and he looked to see a green-haired girl with her hair tied in a bow, "Saya Asui, but call me Tsu." "Okay, Tsu-chan," Naruto smiled, making the green-haired girl grin. The tall young man stood up with his arm raised and announced, "Tenya Ida. It's a pleasure to meet you." Naruto grinned, "A pleasure to meet you as well." On Naruto's other side, a brown-haired girl tugged at his shirt, making him turn to her, and she softly said, "Achaku Uraraka." The blonde resting on the couch waved his hand, "Mashirao Jiro." Another blonde with a black strike in his hair waved at him, "Denki Kaminari." "Ejiro Kirishima." A spiky reed called out. "Koji Koda," a softer voice called out. "Akito Sato," a deeper voice rang out, coming from a brown-haired teen. A silver-haired teen called out calmly, "Mizo Shoji." A rather bored voice rang out, showing a black-haired girl laying on the floor, "Kyoka Jiro." A black-haired boy with a grin waved at him, "Hanta Siro." Yumikage Tokoyami, a black-haired boy with spiky hair and red eyes, he's wearing a genjutsu. Naruto already knew who was coming next as the half-red, half-white-haired boy smiled at him, "Shoto Todoroki." The black-haired girl with two large ponytails, pale skin with a sweet smile said, "Toru Hagakure." "An. I'm giving her an appearance and the ability to go between visible and invisible." The ashy blonde who was leaning against the wall glared at him before sighing, "Kitsuki Bakugo." Izuku Midoriya, a green-haired teen smiled at him. The female with her hair rolled up to look like a perm said, "Minoru Mineta." The black-haired girl with her hair in a spiky ponytail, "Momoyoi Rozu." Naruto smiled, "It's a pleasure to meet all of you." Most smiled back, while Kitsuki sneered before turning away as Naruto thought, "I'll apologize to him later. I'd rather not have another Sasuke situation here." "Naruto, come with me," Aizawa stated. "Okay," he nodded as he followed the man. As people conversed behind him, he followed Aizawa to his office to where he closed the door behind him and said, "You are probably wondering why I told them you were the new student, correct?" Naruto nodded once and said, "Alright, pay attention." Flashback. Hiruzen growled, lowly measuring stick, "My left ass cheek." He then quickly went through hand signs, summoning a monkey who asked, "What can I do for you, sir?" "At me, Jounin Aizawa." The monkey saluted, "Yes sir." After several minutes, Aizawa appeared and bowed, "You called me?" "Yes, do you have space to train one more student?" "Depending on the student in question." Hiruzen stated firmly, "Naruto Uzumaki." "The Kyuubi container?" he asked with slightly widened eyes. Hiruzen's eyes grew darker, "Do you have a problem with what he contains?" Aizawa immediately shook his head, "No, of course not. I just never met him in person." He snorted, "Well, you will get the chance to. He is going to be in the forest resting, several miles away from the Konoha populace. I would want you to have him join your class and make him into the ninja that I know he can be. You can observe him from a higher vantage point and decide whether you want him or not. Isn't he a Kate student?" Hiruzen growled, "Not anymore, he wasted 4 months training only the Uchiha and Haruno, leaving Naruto up Schitt's Creek, and I am not going to have him held back anymore. So you wish for me to catch him up to speed and train him the way he was supposed to be. That is practically the game plan. Do you accept?" He gave a grin and said, "I won't go easy on him. I don't expect you to. Naruto needs a teacher that will push him past his limits, you were the first one that comes to mind. However, Naruto is in the midst of finding himself." "Really? "Yes, because you see, the loud, boisterous genin that is always in Kill Me Orange is not actually Naruto's true personality. It was a mask he created to both protect himself but train himself when the teachers in the academy didn't. He holds himself back and he may realize it now because he explained that he couldn't wear it anymore, but I need you to make sure that he doesn't revert back to it. But along with that, his mask may hide his darker emotions, I need you to help sort them out and find a way for Naruto to deal with them. No one could go through what Naruto has and still have all of his marbles. I see, so he hides his real personality. I get it, he hasn't shown his stuff yet, though. I mean, considering all the pranks around the village he has done. And to tell you the truth, he should be mid-genin in ranking." Hiruzen spat, the civilian council in all of their idiotic glory decided to put more emphasis on studies instead of skill. So that's how Haruno go the top spot, he thought, before pushing the thought back for now. And he should be the top genin, considering all the pranks he has pulled off, show skills that a dead last shouldn't have. People see what they want to see. But they do, but Naruto will surprise you. He has a heart of gold, but it is cracking due to all the bullshit he has suffered from. If you stabilize him and he creates bonds with other than myself, Hiruka, and the Ichirikas, he will become one of your greatest students." Aizawa grinned, "Interesting, I accept." Hiruzen let out a silent sigh of relief, "Thank you, try to. Don't worry about sir, they are my students, after all, most of them have faint ideas what Naruto holds, considering the civilians aren't very subtle, but they have no reason to care about that, and if Naruto is as you say he is, they will have no problem with him." Hiruzen nodded, dismissed, "Jounin Aizawa and take care of him." As Aizawa saluted him and flashed away to observe his new student. "Present." Naruto looked at him in slight shock, "He said that about me?" "Yes." Naruto looked down at his lap as he clenched his fists, "You really believe me that much?" I won't let you down, Gigi. I promise. He looked up again as Aizawa spoke, so what do you intend to do? Are you going to trust me to train you? It won't be easy. I need help in a lot of places and a lot of shit that I need to sort out as well. It will be worked on in due time and I won't go easy on you. My training is rather grueling for those that have been my students for years. Naruto gave him a slight smile, it wouldn't be fun if it wasn't grueling, sir. Call me sensei for now. Oh okay, sensei. Aizawa got up from his seat and pats Naruto on the shoulder and said, I'll allow you to spend some time with your new classmates before I start training you. I will introduce you to the other teachers later. There are other teachers. Yes, they are in a meeting out of the village now, but they will come back in a few days. Alright. Thank you, sensei. Naruto then left the office and Aizawa trailed after him, leaning against his doorframe to see Naruto who got pressed against Kirishima and Kaminari as they loudly conversed, and he watched Naruto's nervousness melt away as he got deeper into the conversation with them. He allowed a smile to fall on his face as he made his way back to his office as he pondered the training schedule he had for everyone to complete, especially since Naruto was now part of his class. The man glanced at a picture that was on his desk, he was a rather cherished picture of him in his youth, it was him with Toshinori, Minato, Kushina, and Jiraiya. Kushina was hugging him, much to his dismay, and Minato was giving a peace sign to the camera. Toshinori had just kicked Jiraiya in the balls for trying to write his girlfriend in the books, and he was laughing in the background. I wonder, Minato, who would you be more ashamed by, the villagers or your own student? It makes me wonder how Kakashi will feel once he realizes that the boy he has been neglecting has been his own sensei's son. Another to add to his list of failures. He's strong skill-wise, but he's still weak where it counts. The rest of the day was spent observing people get comfortable with Naruto and the spiky blonde slowly lower his guard around them as he joined in the mischief and the barbecue to celebrate their new friend. Next day. Naruto experienced his first bout of deep sleep in what felt like forever as he didn't have to worry about anyone breaking in, most of the populace didn't know where the location, meaning very little chance of mobs. He woke up at 6 o'clock and made to eat along with the rest who got up a bit earlier than he did before an alarm sounded, making Naruto flinch at the loud noise as everyone got dressed and made their way outside and climbed the hill where Aizawa was wearing his yellow sleeping bag and said, today's morning training consists of 20 hard laps around Konoha after traversing the forest. Before going through the obstacle course and then all of you will spar each other. Naruto, I will be the one to spar with you after you complete everything. Now go. Yes, sensei. After 5 hours, everyone rested in the grass and Naruto was laying on his stomach as he was chatting with Deku as he never felt so tired, yet satisfied with training and he loved it. He pulled himself off and followed several girls who wanted to change out of their sweaty clothes as he made to take a cold shower. After changing, he saw a messenger bird on his windowsill and it had a note from the Hokage. He made to find Aizawa, I got a letter from the old man. I need to head over there. Do what you have to do. I will explain you need to work on later. Thanks sensei. He then made his way out of the house and made his way towards the Hokage's office, traveling via rooftop before he caught the attention of Hinata, who was walking with her teammates and pointed out Naruto. Kiba grinned and said, we are going after him. Hinata nodded and Shino went along with them before they came across Ino who dragged Shikamaru and Choji into the mess to try and get information about Naruto's secret mission given to him by the Hokage. However, Naruto managed to enter the tower first, making his way past a bitchy desk attendant, he found Hiruzen completely another stack of paperwork. Naruto opened the door and shut it behind him as the two looked at each other silently before he said, thank you Gigi. Hiruzen only smiled as he knew exactly what Naruto was speaking of, no problem, Naruto. But I have several things that belong to you. Naruto's widened as Hiruzen pulled out several books and one of them had it scrawled on it, Kushina's diary and said, this is your mother's diary. She wanted me to give it you when I felt that you were ready. It hurt me to hide it from you, but I didn't want. Naruto raised a hand, don't worry. I understand. He took the diary and several books in hand and couldn't help but notice that his hand was trembling as he looked up, do you have any pictures of her? Hiruzen pulled 2 pictures, this one was her pregnant with you and the other was her with her team. She grins just like me and she looks so happy. She loved you so much, Naruto. Naruto couldn't help the tears that fell down his face and felt a weight lifted off his shoulders before he blinked them away. What about my dad? Well, Naruto, all I can say is that he is closer than you think. Alright, thank you Gigi. This is better than any present you could give me. Am I dismissed? Yes, enjoy them Naruto. Naruto smiled and made to leave with an actual large watery smile he hid from everyone else as he made his way out. Hiruzen felt a bit of his guilt fall off his shoulders as he looked at the fourth and said, he will do great things. I know he will. The rookies were waiting until they finally saw Naruto exit with several books in his arms as they pondered why did he need any books. He then took off to the rooftops with them trailing behind him. He immediately saw them from the corner of his eye and wondered why they were following him when they barely acknowledged him in the first place before he recalled all of their harsh words at the ramen shack. He made to lose them at the first opportunity when he took a dive into an alley and ran. They tried to find him, only to find no one, and made to search for him elsewhere, making him laugh, and they call me the idiot. He then made his way back to the house and into his room, where he was carrying the books close to his chest. He fell on his bed and made his way to the last page of his mother's diary, where it had several drops of blood on it, and he read it. "Hello my son, my baby Naruto. If you are reading this and I am not with you, then, unfortunately, I am dead and your father has died as well. But if you feel bad, I want you to stop that train of thought. Don't you dare feel bad for me, I gave my life to protect you, and I expect you not to lose any sleep over it. When I first found out I was pregnant with you, I couldn't believe it, your father actually fainted when he was making dinner. As smart as he is, he's a bit of a dork, but he's a strong shinobi and saved my life plenty of times as I did with him. Now, I want you to grow up to be a lovely young man. Don't be picky and eat some veggies, no matter how tempting the ramen can be, trust me, I know, and make lots of friends. Never take any bullshit, not even your own. Find a nice girl to settle down with or a guy if you swing that way. Or both. I don't really care, but if you like girls go nuts and I expect grandbabies, and if you like guys well, I don't blame you considering that I am bisexual." Naruto trailed off from there as his face was red as an apple as he decided to quit reading for now and go to the bathroom, fill the sink with water, and cool his head off before he continued his mother's letter, which continued. "If you needed to retreat into the bathroom as you read this, then you really are your father's son. He even fainted when he walked in on me and crossed out. Sorry, not something you should look into. Anyways, have fun, and if you haven't met Jiraiya or don't know who he is outside of his Sannin title, please do one thing for me. Crush his remaining testicle into dust for me, and if you don't know Tsunade either, give her a black eye that she can't heal for a month and a massive ass ripping. Don't hold back just because she has a massive pair of tits. Remember that I love you when I found out I was pregnant with you, when I carried you in my belly for 9 months, and when I held you for the first time, and I will always love you even beyond that. Now, I expect you to enjoy life the way an Uzumaki does, and I don't expect you on puffy clouds until you are old, gray, and have plenty of stories to tell me and your father. Signed Kushina Uzumaki with a chibi of Kushina giving the peace sign." Naruto felt tears fall down his face as a massive smile fell on his face. "She's even better than I thought she would be, and she loves me. She really loves me." He put the diary under his pillow and wiped his eyes with his arm and knew it would almost be lunchtime and decided to read another book that Hiruzen gave him and said, "I'll make you proud mom, and you too, dad. I promise." He opened the book and the title made his eyes widened, The Treasured Weapons of the Uzumaki Clan. Naruto shut the book, his mind swirling with multiple thoughts before he looked at the clock and sighed, "So, the last one is a secret, huh? Well, it will be interesting to find out what it does once I get my hands on it." He placed the book under his pillow and made his way out of his bedroom as he cracked his neck, removing any kinks as he made his way downstairs and into the kitchen, where he found Katsuki who was eating a sandwich. "Hey," Naruto softly stated. Katsuki kept silent as he finished his sandwich and made his way forward to stand in front of Naruto, who took to lean against the wall. The two stared at each other for several moments before Naruto said, "Look, I'm sorry about what happened the other day. What? Didn't mean to knock me unconscious. Yeah, I was going to just leave you to your business, but. Yeah, I got an ass chewing for that, but how did you end up becoming a part of our class? That never happens." It surprised me too. I didn't figure out until Aizawa pulled me into his office and told me the Hokage assigned me here. But what were you doing in the forest anyway? Naruto slightly slouched, "I was taking a break from my team." Katsuki raised his eyebrow a bit and stated, "A break from your team?" "Yeah, I found out exactly what I was to them and made to leave before I did something that I may not regret." "What was it?" "It must have been a lot to make a person leave a team." Naruto gave him a blank smile. "Would you stay on a team where your own sensei says that he picked you on be a measuring stick for your teammate?" Katsuki's eyes widened, "He said that. He said that to my now ex-teammate and I managed to overhear them when I arrived at the training ground early. My other teammate said that was a waste of space when she can barely do anything and hits me for no other reason than to silence her own insecurities and impress my other teammate. And your ex-sensei doesn't do shit to stop it. Apparently, I am not worth the effort." Katsuki stared at him and said, "Why do you allow it?" Naruto's smile turned grim. "I thought it would stop, as she used to hit me all the time in the academy, and when we were teammates, I thought it would stop, but it just kept getting worse. So punch them back, it's as simple," Katsuki bluntly stated. Naruto sighed, if only it was that simple. Don't tell me you have the code of never hitting a girl or you had a crush on the bitch. Used to, and no I don't, it can't be helped with a title such as mine. Title? You will find that out soon enough if I am not run out of here by then. Itsuki could feel his irritation rising as he said, what do you mean by that? Naruto's only response was a half-assed smile before he disappeared from the kitchen altogether. Itsuki growled before took a calming breath as he knew that Aizawa would make him clean up everything if he exploded in the kitchen as he made his way outside for a walk. As the ashy blonde walked with his hands in his pockets his mind kept repeating, a title such as mine, what does he mean by that? Does it have to do with all the pranks? Some people just need to take a joke and swallow it. Not that I'm one to judge either. Naruto. Naruto. Naruto, you idiot, I'm talking to you. A shrill voice screamed before he ducked, grabbing the offending limb that was about to strike him and pinned them down with his foot on their head, making them whine in pain as he twisted their arm. Ow. Ow. Let me go. She screamed as she grimaced on the hard ground. Hey, you, let her go. Another voice screamed as a blonde in purple ran up to him. Itsuki coldly stated, why did you try and attack me? Let her go. Ino repeated, pulling out a kunai. Itsuki wasn't threatened by her at all but released her, exposing her pink hair as she slowly got up and rubbed her arm. She screamed at him, what was that for? Itsuki raised an eyebrow before counting to 10 in his head as he said, you tried to attack me from behind and you have the nerve to say what was that for? People have been killed for less. Sakura and Ino gulped before the blonde stated, sorry, we were trying to find her teammate and he has been missing and we want to talk to him. And you attacking me relates to this how? She thought you were her teammate. His name is Naruto and he missed all of her meetings and she wants to tell him that he's in big trouble with their sensei. Itsuki could smell the lie coming from miles away and immediately connected the dots, so she's his ex-teammate and her trying to hit me and her insults are on point. Sakura bowed and said, I'm sorry. It's just you look a lot like my idiot teammate from the back. Itsuki twitched an eyebrow and thought, she's something else if she can confuse me with Naruto, just standing within her range makes me want to blow up her face. He turned around and called over his shoulder, no wonder Naruto left your team if he had to deal with a bitch like you all day. His words shocked them and they called out to him, trying to make him stop to talk to them until he shouted, piss off. As his hands created mini explosions which scared off the two and he watched them disappear from his sight before he made his way back to the compound. Disgusting, he rolled his eyes as he made his way to the training ground and saw Naruto performing the Ginga with multiple leg sweeps, front and side kicks with elbows to the midriff. Itsuki called out, making Naruto pause mid-attack, you are making your elbow strikes too light, you won't be able to break ribs or cause someone to curl into themselves with moves like that. Naruto looked at him and said, any tips? Itsuki shows him the correct way as he performs the Ginga before performing a multitude of kicks, elbow strikes, leg sweeps, and punches. Naruto follows Katsuki after the second time of him repeating the moveset. Naruto smiled, thank you. The ashy blonde nodded as the two continued to spar and go through multiple movesets until they sat across each other, covered in sweat as Naruto stretched his limbs as they relaxed in comfortable silence. Itsuki stated, I ran into your ex-teammate, making Naruto wince as he immediately squinted. You never liked the bitch in the first place, have you? How can you tell? Naruto commented, unsquinting his eyes, showing a darker blue than usual. Every time you mention her, although indirectly, you squint as if hiding how you really think of her. Your eyes are too expressive, they're dark and show nothing but disgust. Naruto gave a breathy sigh, WOW, you know. Well, the second to figure it out. Second? A nice girl named Ayame figured it out first. HMPH the question remains, why did you pretend to like her? I met her and another blonde and I wanted to blow both of them to hell. Was the other blonde in purple wrapped in bandages? Yes. Ugh, another one who pines after my other ex-teammate. Which would be who? Sasuke Uchiha. You mean the kid who walks around like he's hot shit while mopping about his family? That's the one. Damn, so you are sandwiched between the last Uchiha and his fangirl, and let me guess the teacher is a fanboy of the Uchiha. Got it in one. But I intend on making them pay. Itsuki smirked, nothing's better than good fashion payback, but I still expect you to tell me your secret. Really? Yeah. You know, no offense, but I expected you to be more willing to explode my head off my shoulders when you woke up. I was before Aizawa talked to me and told me to be a bit nicer, just don't expect it to last long. I won't. Besides, you're much better than I thought you would be. But when it's over, try to not to blast off my head. No promises. Naruto stood up and said, also, when you get back you really try and get yourself and your Raka some privacy. Ah, what did you say? Katsuki yelled as he immediately got up. Naruto grinned before he made his way back to the house and disappeared, just as Katsuki stormed just below of Naruto's hiding spot and looked everywhere before shouting, "How hard is it to find a sunshine blonde with whiskers?" Naruto, on the other hand, was watching with a bit of amusement as he smiled, "Thank you, Gigi." Several hours later. Naruto stood with everyone else as they faced Aizawa, who pointed his thumb towards the forest and said, "All of you will stay here in this forest to heighten your survival skills until 10 o'clock tomorrow, where we will meet once again at this very location. Try not to get lost or wander too far." They nodded, "Yes, sensei." He waved his hand and said, "Off with you then." All 21 split up in different directions as they made themselves comfortable, as this was mostly a vacation to them. The girls mostly went in one direction and the guys the opposite. The rest of the day was spent finding food to sate themselves for night as they set up their locations to sleep away from the local predators that reside in the forest. As the sun fell, Naruto smiled as he looked the cut up pieces of deer meat that he was roasting over the fire. After eating and burying the bones of deer, he made to turn in early, knowing he would wake up soon. 5:42 a.m. Naruto was roused from his sleep as he made his way back to the ground from his sleeping spot in the trees. He could tell from the slight rumbling in the air that mostly everyone was still asleep, but the blonde couldn't find it in him to go back to sleep. Then a rustling in the bushes rang out, making him slowly bring his attention towards the little baby wolf that trotted out, looking up at him. The small animal gave a soft-sounding bark and Naruto kneeled so the baby could sniff him and knew he meant no harm. The baby then rushed towards Naruto and the blonde scratched its ears, making the wolf's tail thump happily against the ground before Naruto placed the baby wolf on his shoulder as he went to eat the remaining part of his deer he killed yesterday. After eating, Naruto rested against one of the old trees that resided in the forest and as the baby wolf made itself comfort in his lap and Naruto took a nap only to wake up 3 hours later face to face with the largest wolf Naruto had ever seen. Naruto slowly placed his hands on the baby in his lap as he roused the little wolf awake who barked in happiness at seeing it's his mother. The large wolf took the baby by the scruff of its neck and left, leaving Naruto staring after the two. By the position of the sun, Naruto could tell it was near 9 o'clock and made to clean up his area and find everyone so they could wait out the remaining hour so they could head back. The next day. Naruto was at his desk, relearning the most important topics from the academy that Aizawa gave him from the scroll, knowing it would help him in the long run. After several hours of work, he stretched and made his way outside to take a break and visit Tucci and his daughter, Ayame. As he walked, he bumped into Konohamaru and Hanabi. Konohamaru rubbed his head before he saw he ran into Naruto and tackled him, crying out, "Boss. It's been a long time." Naruto grinned as he pulled him up and tucked him under his arm, "Yeah, it is. How have you been?" As Konohamaru rambled on, Hanabi took the time to study Naruto's features and thought, "This is the boy that Hinata has a crush on. Well, I can see he's not half bad looking." She then tuned into their conversation as Naruto said, "He hasn't been saying the bullshit about shortcuts, right?" The smaller Sarutobi said, "No. After you beat him, he's been a lot nicer." "Good. Just let me know if he decides to be a dick again and I'll knock him flat." Hanabi butted in and said, "Who are you talking about? Ibisu?" She rolled her eyes, "He's a jounin and he was taken down by a genin. Don't make me laugh." Konohamaru was going to argue with her before Naruto made the gesture to be silent and whispered, "Let her think what she wants. It's a lot more fun when you prove them wrong in the end, Kono." He nodded as he swallowed his argument but still gave Hanabi a dirty glare. "Hanabi, right?" She nodded, excusing the use of her name without an honorific as he smiled, "It's nice to be meet you little firecracker," making her eyes widen as nobody called her that. Naruto then turned towards Konohamaru and said, "Well, Kono, I expect great things from you," making the young Sarutobi nod in happiness. Hanabi snorted, he would be a failure if he was anything other than the best, making Konohamaru frown as Naruto rolled his eyes as he placed the younger boy on his back. "Little firecracker, I expect the best from Kono, not because of his grandfather or his bloodline, but because I know he's a bright kid and he'll go even farther than the third. A fair warning, if you base expectations on people based on bloodlines, you are going to be very shocked throughout your life, and that may cost you a lot more than your dignity." Hanabi stared at him in confusion as she couldn't form any words as her tongue failed her as Naruto smiled at Konohamaru and said, "Do you want to get some ramen with me?" "Yeah." He cheered. As Naruto left, he called over his shoulder, "Be safe, little firecracker." Naruto then chatted with Konohamaru as Hanabi watched the two laugh, and the young Hyuga couldn't help but feel a bit of jealousy over the happy family-like bond between Naruto and Konohamaru and couldn't help herself but ask, "Would I be able to experience such a thing?" Before she caught herself, lightly shaking her head and muttering, "Stupid," as she made her way home. Naruto smiled as he listened to Konohamaru chatter incessantly about how he and his friends Mijay and Yuden have been before they found themselves in front of Ramen Ichiraku, where Ayame was manning the front and found Naruto, who hugged him and greeted Konohamaru, who blushed at how pretty she was. Konohamaru took his seat next to Naruto as they both ordered and chatted as Ayame took their orders and just had a good time, although Tucci rushed to the front to check if the sky was falling when Naruto only ordered 4 bowls. Much to Ayame's laughter and Konohamaru's good-natured teasing due to knowing Naruto's preference for large amounts of ramen was legendary. Naruto takes the teasing in stride but made a mental note to repay Tucci for all his kindness when many had none towards him. After paying, Naruto took Konohamaru back home when he promised to hang out with him and his friends again and was about to make his way back to the compound only to be confronted by a mob led by the woman who got fired from the shop, making him sigh. It was only a matter of time. Doesn't matter, he silently sighed as he listened to them curse him out and scream that he was demon as he was chased into an alley, knowing people who would ignore the screams and the noise of the mob that chased after him. Finally, after being cornered, they made their speech about how they would avenge for the fourth and make him pay for all the slights against him just by him existing. Before finally noticing that Naruto wasn't cowering in the corner or trying to make himself as small as possible, even when they stepped forward towards him menacingly, instead he looked rather bored, as if he was watching an old rerun on TV. He cracked his knuckles in a lazy manners, making several of them take a step back as he said, "Listen. I'm not in the mood. If you want to attack me, go ahead, but let me tell you this, the demon is fighting back this time, so give it your best shot." His words stirred the mob's fury as they rushed to attack him and made to finally kill him and become the heroes they were meant to be. Naruto avoided the first attack with a broken sake bottle and made to bury his first into the first civilian, bringing them down as they puked up what they ate in the morning before Naruto smashed his head down into his own puke, knocking them unconscious. Then Naruto attacked the 2 who were behind them and smashed their heads into the others, making them fall unconscious. 5 civilians tried to stab him with kunai or kitchen knives, but the blonde avoided their attempted stabs as he grabbed one of their arms just to kick as hard as he could into their chests. The sound of broken ribs rang out into the air, along with their screams. Naruto then tossed the civilian at the one beside him before strike out with a kick that broke his neck, taking the 2 of them out of the fight. The other 3, Naruto swept their legs out from underneath them, causing them to stumble before Naruto slammed his elbow into the face of one civilian, breaking their nose. He slammed his knee into the jaw of another, shattering it, and finally punching the third in the face multiple times, blooding his fist. Naruto made to look at the remaining 11 people still standing, some even pissed themselves from fear as all but one took off running, screaming that the demon had gone loose and was going to kill them all. Naruto slowly made towards the shivering woman who left sitting in a puddle of her own piss as she whimpered, "I don't want to die." Naruto took off his jacket as she looked down, still shivering, waiting for the final blow before she felt a soft jacket draped around her shoulders and saw it was Naruto, who looked at her sadly and said, "Look miss, I didn't want you to lose your job and I didn't want what just happened to happen, but there is a limit to how much a person can take." She looked at him as if she had never seen him before and stuttered out, Everyone is alive, they are just unconscious. Listen, I don't want to kill any of you, but if this continues I will force to. This is your first and last warning. Let everyone know that I am not tolerating their shit anymore, and if they try, the consequences won't be pretty," he stated, coldly, making her shivers return. He slowly calmed her down and said, "You need to go home, you may hate me, but please be safe and cover yourself or you'll get sick." The woman then watched Naruto leave as she clutched his jacket around her body as she slowly made her way home, and halfway there she started to weep as she realized the mistake she and many others have made about the young man as she tightened his jacket around her body like it was a lifeline. With Naruto, he arrived in front of the compound where Aizawa was waiting for him and asked, "Where have you been?" Naruto gave a slight smile, "A mob wanted to take me out, but I beat several of them up and scared off the rest. I see, we'll talk more later. The rest of the teachers are here." "Cool," Naruto stated as he went inside as Aizawa shut the door behind him and Naruto sat between Koji and Mina. Aizawa yawned as he entered his yellow sleep bag, much to Naruto's confusion, before Mina nudged him and whispered, "He always does that. Don't worry. It was weird when we first came here as well." The teachers were the best Konoha had to offer, but stuck to the shadows, not to attract attention, like many other people would have. Hisashi Yamada. Codename Present Mic, Specialities. Ninjutsu Master, Support Technician. Ashinori Yagi. Codename All Might, Specialities. Taijutsu Master, Leadership Technician. Pen Ishiyama. Codename Cementus, Specialities. Taijutsu Master, Trap Technician. Namuri Kama. Codename Midnight, Specialities. Jinjutsu Master, Seduction Technician. Masahiro Takahashi. Codename Ectoplasm, Specialities. Ninjutsu Master, Manipulation Technician. Namuri stated, so, that would be all of us, dear Naruto-kun. Everyone here is apprenticed under each of us, although you all train together, we switch every 2 weeks, so we cover all basics of ninja techniques. Ashinori said, so, young Naruto-kun, which ones do you choose to mainly teach you? Naruto smiled and said, Midnight and All Might, if that's alright. People cheered and clapped as Naruto watched everyone go up to their assigned teacher, before Midnight pulled him towards her and said, I will have you every 3 days, before switching with Tashi as he will get you every 3 days, you have a day off to rest and do what you wish. Naruto nodded, of course, thank you. She giggled and hugged him, making him stiffen up a bit, making her sadly smile as she whispered, sorry, I am a bit too hands-on. It's okay, I'll get used to it. I'm in your care. Midnight rubbed her hand through his blonde locks as made to drag him in the fun on her group and explained what she planned on teaching him, before All Might pulled him into his group and told him what he planned on teaching him as well. The conversations went on long into the night and Naruto couldn't wait. Next day. After the nice morning of eating, training and resting, Naruto went on a walk, ignoring how people got out of his way or started to whisper about him, until an irritating voice rang out, Naruto. The blonde knew the voice from anywhere and saw it was Kiba who was making his way towards him along with his team, before an Abnu in a bear mask appeared just beside him as Naruto muttered, thank you, Kami-sama. Naruto Uzumaki, you are needed by the council. Naruto. Kiba shouted, now running towards him. I see, let us go, then. The bear Abnu shrugged, took Naruto by his shoulder and vanished with him in tow, leaving Kiba to stand at the spot where Naruto once was. Damn it. Kiba spat. Hinata looked at the spot where Naruto stood sadly, why wouldn't Naruto-kun want to talk to us? Council room. Naruto was flashed into the room as he saw all the ninja, elder, and civilian council members, but no Hiruzen to be seen as he said, oh so dear council members, what do you want with little old me? The civilian gave a nasty grin, we finally caught you demon. He tilted his head, have you now? Another shouted, you beat up a group of outstanding citizens, you deserve to be punished. Oh, I don't think so. And I beat up I think 7 or 8 people, but they were trying to kill me. I consider it fair. Fair, you should just. What? Die. For your amusement. For your pleasure. Never and never will. Tell it to someone who gives a shit, Naruto stated as he felt Hiruzen's presence enter the room, but lurk in the shadows. Danzo's slimy voice rang out, so you finally show your true face. He thought, this is the perfect opportunity to get him in my route and soon all of Konoha will be under my heel. Naruto gave a cold chuckle, something that completely unnerved everyone in the room as they didn't expect something to come from Naruto, which broke all the civilians out in a cold sweat. Trust me, Danzo. If you knew my true face you would be scared. Very scared. But I am not here to pander to your misery fantasies, but why am I here? Tsume said, they wish to punish you for your crimes. I see, tell me, civilians, does the Hokage know about this? An older civilian council member snorted, the Hokage is a blithering old fool to allow you to keep living, but when you die, he will finally realize it and he will reward us greatly for doing Kami's work. Several ninja council members twitched in irritation before Naruto gave a harsh laugh and turned and said, you hear that, old man? Sakura's mother screamed, what's so funny? You. Hiruzen slowly made his way forward as he coldly stated, so I am a blithering old fool, is that it? Most of the civilian council pissed themselves and the one who said that statement shit themselves in fear as they could only look at their laps as the Hokage glared at them. Naruto gave a harsh laugh and wiped a tear of mirth from his eye as he made himself comfortable, this is going to be sweet. The end. Thanks for watching, also remember to subscribe and like this video. See you in the next video.